If there's one thing that I enjoy as much as cutting on the scroll saw, it's creating patterns to cut. I've been creating patterns for my scroll saw for years, and I've used just about every tool out there that I could find, all the way back to the beginning days of trying to use Microsoft Paint just to create enough of a pattern to cut something. Over the years, I've found better and better tools, and now I'm at the point where CorelDRAW is the only tool that I use any longer to create my patterns. And what I would like to do today is kind of pique your interest a little bit in pattern creating, and this is not going to be a tutorial as much as it is just a video to show you that creating patterns is not as hard as it might seem to be. The first thing to talk about is the fact that CorelDRAW is a very expensive program. If you're going to be a part-time pattern maker, I might suggest that you go on the web and look for an open source program called Inkscape. It's free. It does not have the power of Corel, but it will give you the ability to at least play with creating some patterns. If you do decide to go with CorelDRAW, one thing you might want to try to do is check out some of the online sites to order it. I know you can find it on eBay quite often for considerably less than purchasing it in Best Buy or CompUSA. I'm going to show you just a real quick eBay hit that I pulled up for CorelDRAW X3, which is the newest version out as we speak. And they're listing this for $178.99 with $19.99 shipping. Do your homework. You can have problems on eBay, so try to do your homework. Make sure that their seller feedback is high. Read all the description. Make sure it's not an upgrade version or a student version. Make sure you get the full version. Anyway, if you think you want to try to make scroll saw patterns, check out CorelDRAW, and maybe you can find it at a price you can afford. Okay, now what I want to do is just take you through the general steps that I use to create my patterns. What I will generally do when I get ready to make a pattern, I will go onto the web and find photographs or images that I want to use to create my patterns. Now you have to be a little careful. Some of these photographs off the web, probably are copyrighted images, and if you're going to create these patterns to sell, you want to make sure that you're using photographs or images, that are available to do this with. You can see what I've done here is I've imported these images into CorelDRAW and simply just traced the images. Now, it looks like it might be time consuming, and it can be for some images, but I just want to give you a brief example of how I do it. If I had this image right here of a leaf and I wanted to trace it, the first thing I would do is go ahead and select my magnifying glass and zoom in on that leaf. I trace with the pen tool. Now, I'm not going to give you the basics of CorelDRAW and how to use it in this series of videos. If you want to learn the basics, go out on the web and search for tutorials. There's hundreds of them out there, and some of them are very good. So in this series of videos, I'm going to show you the techniques for creating patterns, and I'll leave the learning of how to use these tools up to you. Okay, the way I do it is I would select the pen tool after I've zoomed in, and I do a rough outline. Now you'll see from this outline that I do not get very detailed at all in the way I do this rough outline, and I'll show you why in just a second. And I'm only going to do a portion of this leaf just to give you an idea of why I do these rough outlines. Okay, at this point I have my rough outline, and you can see I only did a part of the leaf, but it doesn't look very good. Now what I will generally do at this point is I'll go up here to my shape tool, and I will reshape these lines by right-clicking on a line segment, converting it to curve, and then moving this line to exactly the position I want it. A lot of times I'll go ahead and zoom in even closer at this stage so I can really watch these lines close. Again, select the shape tool, right-click on the line segment, and simply move that line where I want it. I can also go back in and add points if I need to increase the detail of the line. But in this case, I'm just going to quickly outline this section of the leaf that we've done. Now, what I'll do is I will use the arrow keys. I hold down the Alt button and use the arrow keys to move around this leaf, and that gives me a chance to stay zoomed in and at the same time continue to use my shape tool with my right hand. Now, I'm not doing a great job here, but you're going to get the idea. You're going to have to take your time when you do this and get it, as accurate as you need your pattern to be. And I'm just going to do a couple more line segments here just to, again, give you an idea without trying to bore you to death. Do this last segment here. And now I can zoom back out, and I'm going to go ahead and fill that part of the pattern that I just created in so you can get an idea of what I've done. Now I would take each of my images that I've imported into CorelDRAW and I would trace them like that, and on the next one you'll see that I actually spent considerable more time on this leaf. I got the veins in it. I got it exactly the way I wanted. I did the same thing with the bird and the acorn. And in the next step, what I like to do is, for instance, let's say we're creating a lid box here and a lid to a box. Now, the next step of this process would generally be for me to create a box and use a tool over here called Interactive Contour Tool. And what that allows me to do is create a box that has an outline on it, and then I can drag these different objects that I've created into this box and begin to make my pattern. And on the next frame you'll see I've taken the three objects that I created, and I tried to, as artistically as possible, put them into the top of this box to give myself some fretwork pattern to cut. So basically that's what it's all about, to create a pattern in CorelDRAW. In the next series of videos that I put out, I'm going to go in and give you more detailed steps on how I rotated the leaves, how I created the outline of the box and cut out the interior, how I welded all these parts together to make it seem like one seamless cut. And again, I will probably incorporate this particular pattern into a free downloadable project in a video on the blog sometime pretty soon, so you'll have an opportunity to cut this out and get a feel for what it's like to make your own patterns. Okay, thanks for watching the video, and again, I hope to make this a series of CorelDRAW tutorials slash demonstrations. I've already got a couple more in the can, and I'll be putting them out just as quick as I can. So come back to the blog frequently and check for new posts. If you would like, you can subscribe to the RSS feed or subscribe to the email subscription, and you can get these new posts delivered right to your email box, which might be a good way of keeping up on this video series. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.